You must fight. You must rise up and realize that this pattern that is not serving you must stop. That your life in 2 years, in 5 years can be radically different from what it is today. Welcome to another episode of Mindset Mastery. I'm your host, Araujo, and today's subject is Poised to Win. Poised to Win. But before we get there, I want to just give you a recap of my weekend. Well, this past Sunday, yesterday, I am officially 42 years old, 42. And I sometimes just look at that number and I'm like, how did this happen, right? 42. But I'm also very grateful for the way my life is turning out. Because I can honestly say that things are significantly better than I was 5 years ago at 37 or at 32, 10 years ago. And I even dare to say that things have never been better in my entire life. And it's based on a foundation that I created it, right? The foundation that I've created all great things in my life. And it wasn't easy, but it was my determination to continue to fight. Fight for the lifestyle that I always imagined. Fight for a less chaotic life, a life that's functional. And I think a lot of us are still in that place where we just come to accept that dysfunctionality is just part of life. When in fact we have full control of where we want to go, full control of the way we want to feel, full control of the finances we even make. We're in a very good position to be able to create all that. And sometimes we just leave it up to, generalities. And when we do that is when we lose ourselves. And I'll tell you what, 42 to 32, I know exactly why I was feeling the way I was at 32, right? Always a little reserved, always a little hesitant. And it's because I just didn't have a pattern of being able to show up powerfully on a consistent basis. I would have many moments of powerful moments, right? But they were sporadic in between. And one of those reasons was because I failed to identify the patterns that got me there, that got me feeling powerful. Today, I know exactly what gets me there. Today, I know the patterns and the things that I can do on a daily basis to keep me there. And it's one of those things where I think we're all responsible for making sure we continue on that momentum. And as you look back, right, as you look back 5 years from now, I need you to ask yourself this question. Are you in a better place today than you were 5 years ago? Then ask yourself your question of, are you in a better place today than you were 10 years ago? And, a lot of this is where you have either done a lot of the right things or maybe hesitated or allowed things to just take its own course where it's not so focused. And maybe you're a little heavier. Maybe that's the case. Maybe your marriage is hitting hard times again. Maybe the money's not where it needs to be. So you're struggling with the same financial situations you were 5 years ago or maybe 10 years ago. Maybe it's getting harder and harder to get out of bed. There's lack of motivation, lack of desire, lack of intention. And I need you to be very clear and be very aware of this, that those feelings don't go away. In fact, everything gets much harder. So if you don't learn to curve that momentum, if you're feeling like you've gained some weight, if you're not in the best shape you've been in a decade, and of course, I understand, hey, aging slows down certain things, right? But it doesn't mean that we just allow it without a fight, allow it to unravel without a fight. Yes, time does take the butterfly feelings from our marriage sometimes, right? The honeymoon stage, it goes away, but it doesn't mean you do not fight. And sometimes we just get used to making a certain amount of money and we just live life going through that motion. But again, we cannot forget to fight. And if you're having these struggles now, if you're not having the motivation, if you're not having, if you're not taking care of yourself now, if your marriage has been progressively just getting harder and harder to manage and to even show love in many aspects, right? To even show appreciation for the other person, nothing's going to change. Things progressively get worse. So I need you to kind of keep this in mind. So when you compare yourself from 5 years ago, if you're not in a better position with how you feel, where your business is going, where your finances are at, where your marriage is going, things are not going to improve on their own. They're not. All you're really doing is ultimately waiting for it to all unravel. And many people in our society face that. I'd say I faced it at 35 years old, where it just seems like the entire world just implodes, where nothing seems to work, where everything seems chaotic, dysfunctional, sad. And it comes to that point each and every time when we don't take the necessary actions on a daily. So if you're not in a better position than you were 5 years ago, listen, it's not going to get any better until you take significant and intentional actions on a daily. It's not. You're just holding on to a sinking ship. And that's a horrible feeling and a horrible position to be in. I know that. And I saw it, but yet I tried to avoid it. I thought the marriage would just automatically just change for me. In fact, I thought divorce was the only option. Carla was thinking the same thing. My finances didn't improve until I decided to do the hard work, the necessary work, the required work. That's when things truly started to change for me. My body, the way I feel today, I take care of it. I don't abuse it. I don't stuff my face with cheap and fast food, because I want to be in this game forever, as long as I can. I want to be able to see my daughters grow up to be these powerful women and raise these powerful children. I want to be there healthy and strong. I don't want them to worry about dad. I don't want them to worry about, him and his health. These are all things I decided to improve upon, but they were all decisions. Now, if you would have asked me 5 years ago, was my life better than it was 10 years ago? I don't think I could have said yes. Now, without a shadow of a doubt, I can absolutely say yes. My life today is much superior, much greater than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, as a 32-year-old man. I am healthier. I am stronger. I am wiser. I am wealthier. I am happier. These are all things that I caused to happen. I was the cause of. My actions, what I decided to do every day, was the cause of. I decided to fight when I fell down. I decided to keep going when it seemed like everything was against me. When there was no cash coming in. When I had to beg and borrow to cover certain bills. But I was willing to fight. And you got to ask yourself, if you're in a position where you're pretty much the same as you were 5 years ago, you're not fighting enough. As a matter of fact, that is the byproduct of complacency. Complacency leads to dysfunction. We got to understand that. Yeah, you can go through the motions, not challenge your marriage, not challenge your body, not challenge your business, and it'll work until one day it doesn't. Until one day you're facing a big wall of obstacles and there's no way for you to go up, around, or through it. Desperation sets in. Anxiety goes through the roof. Depression hits. This was all caused by not pushing hard enough. This was all caused by the thoughts that you buy into. Brendan, I'm hearing some clicking over there. I think it's with your leg there. So you got to understand, listen, it doesn't get any better. So if you're facing these struggles right now, you're not happy with the way you look or feel, nothing's going to change until you start making that change. If you're still struggling with the same finance situations where, you're struggling to pay the bills, where money is not as predictable. That is something you're causing for it to happen. You're not growing enough. You're not challenging yourself enough. You don't keep that momentum going. Identifying what gets you there is the cornerstone of keeping you there. Identifying what got you there is the cornerstone of keeping you there. But we tend to forget because our old patterns start creeping in. Listen, fighting with this negativity that my mind would always go through, that was a challenge. It was hard. The memories of my youth, the reasons why I couldn't, the environments I grew in kept on trying to pull me back. The dysfunctional relationships that I compared mine to, only to create very much the same thing. My life is better today because I became intentional. And yours can too. But first, you got to give yourself that reality check. If you're not seeing improvement from 5 years ago, it's not going to get any better for you. Everything that you're feeling, the heaviness of those decisions today are not going to get any better tomorrow. You have to shift your paradigm. Shift the way you want to feel and be. Start identifying, hey, listen, maybe I'm not making the right decisions every day. Maybe the desires that I want and the actions that I'm taking are not in alignment. Maybe I'm completely out of integrity. Maybe that's the reason my life is not working. Those are hard conversations to have. They're not the easiest. But they're a required necessity, a necessary evil. To look at ourselves and say, maybe I'm not showing up the way I should as a husband, as a father. Maybe you're a weak businessman, AZ. What are you going to do about it? Maybe it's not Carla's fault. Maybe it's all your fault. Why don't you man up? Why don't you stand up? Why don't you fight? Those are the necessary evils we must face. And it's tough. It's tough to admit that you have been showing up like a weak father. It's tough that when things would get tough, I would curl up in a ball. It's tough to admit that. But I had to go there. I had to go there and put full blame on myself. But then I asked myself a very important question. What are you going to do about it? And many of you beat yourselves up all day long, have had that conversation with yourselves all day long, but then do nothing about it. That is the problem right there at its core. You must fight. You must rise up and realize that this pattern that is not serving you must stop. That your life in 2 years, in 5 years can be radically different from what it is today. I couldn't see this life that I've created. I couldn't see it 5 years ago, 7 years ago. I couldn't see it. But just because I couldn't see it didn't mean I wasn't going to fight for it. And you may not be seeing it right now. But it doesn't mean you don't fight. It doesn't mean you don't get up. You take care of yourself. You show the love, respect, and appreciation within your household. It doesn't mean you don't overcome the thoughts of what's the point. Because you will find out 5 years from now exactly what the point was. Some of you are hitting hard times, and I get it. And I'm sorry you're going through that. And some of you are reaping the benefits of following the work, of doing the things that are required, of the simple patterns described here in the 12-week targets. Some of you are already seeing radical changes in the last 6 months, in a year. And it only gets better if you stick to the game plan, because you've identified the patterns to keep you there, to stay there, to get there. Now, for those of you that are struggling right now, marriage is not where it's at. Your confidence is low. You hate the way you feel, inside and out. There is a way out. But it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a lot of hard work. But maybe that's the reason you're here. To face those evils. The evils of temptation, complacency, and mediocrity. Maybe that's why you're here. And you're willing to make changes not only for yourself, but generations to come. For those that are begging for you to rise. Your wife, your kids, your family and friends. They're tired of you just going through the motions. You're tired of it. Things are not going to get better unless you make them better. 42 years old, I feel like I've never been in a better place. I'm so thankful. I'm grateful. I'm not saying this to show off, to say I'm better than. What I'm saying is there's a process that has been proven to work. It's all because of the deposits I've made over the years. And it's what I continue to do and expect from myself. I had a friend reach out yesterday. Saturday, actually, it was Saturday. They're like, hey, man, it's your birthday. What are you going to do? And I start thinking, what would I have done at my 30s, my 20s? I said, I'm just going to hang out with my family and have the best day ever. In fact, I wanted to put that cherry on top. Yesterday on my birthday, I went to the pool and I swam the farthest I've ever swam, ever in my life. Because I'm willing to do the things, the hard things, on days that most will tell you it's okay to take off. It's okay to celebrate. I have nothing to celebrate. I celebrate every day. My birthday's just another day. I'm thankful for where my life is going. So I decided to push a little more. And I got up this morning with a big smile on my face, even though my shins and my knees were hurting. Because I'm going to do it all over again. And these patterns are continuing the momentum that I've built over the years. I have too much riding on this. I cannot let it slide. I cannot get comfortable. Because I know the ladder. And I never want to go there again. I can't handle that level of disappointment. I can't handle that level of pain. I don't want to handle that. If I could offset it, I will bring on different pain. But the disappointment, I will never put my family in that situation again. So hell yeah. Hell yes. I am proud of where I'm at. It wasn't easy. I earned it. It was earned. It's time for you to earn what you have. And many of you are. I'm not talking to everyone here. But I know you can relate. Because maybe you were there. So this message is maybe hitting you to the core. Because it makes complete sense. Your wife is smiling. Your kids are confident. You've created that safe and stable environment. Good for you. Congratulations. You are not done. We got more to do. Because when I'm 52, I am only going to be a fraction of a man that I am today. Let me take that back. When I'm 52, who I am today will be a fraction of the man I will be then. I'm not going to get start to eroding and thinking that my best days are behind me. My best days are ahead. And I have a grand vision for where I'm going. So as long as you understand that the foundation of who you are is based on the deposits you've made, as long as you understand that, and as long as you want to accept it, you now can do something about it. You can continue this momentum. You can change the trajectory of where you're going, or you can do pretty much the same. But if you're having those struggles now, they are not going to change. And if you're dealing with the same struggles of 5 years ago, there's very little growth. That's hard to look at. That is hard to accept. But it's time to do something about it. So I refuse to be in a decline stage. I'm feeling more powerful than ever. I would run circles around who I was, the 32-year-old man. The 22-year-old man is not even in the rear-view mirror. That's how far he is behind. And this is something that I intended to do. I don't speak about how my best days were behind me. I don't speak about the happiest times were in my high school or college days. I speak about the now, because I've improved. I am living my best days because I've decided to stay focused. And that's something that we all have to look at. How can you continue to set these targets for yourself 12 weeks at a time to strive for something? To strive for something. What is it that you want? A challenge-based lifestyle is what changed my life. Knowing that I have something to hit 12 weeks from now. Identifying what works. You've all hit those milestones in your health, the happiness within your family, the profits in your business. Sustaining it, well, that's maybe the biggest challenge you've had. But identifying what works, the patterns, the routines, the mindset, that cannot deviate. You cannot kill your momentum at the moment you hit those milestones of happiness. The key is to sustain it. Long period, long term. Third thing I want you to think about is that your integrity, your word must mean everything. Your word must be gold. Your word is the foundation of leadership within your household, leadership with your clients. If your convictions are flailing, or if you have a moral crisis due to the fact that you're not doing the right things for yourself, then you lose trust within yourself. You don't even believe what you say or tell or shout to the world. None of it matters because you know you will break. You will break. That means you won't move forward. So once you're lost, you won't be able to lead others and your business will struggle. And finally, understand that part of this game is willing to do the hard work, the monotonous work, the painful work. But it's all in the means to get you to what you envision for yourself. So the Prime 3 does all those things. And I'm going to continue to preach this because this simple pattern has changed my life significantly. I told you, when I was 35, I couldn't say that my life was significantly better 5 years from then. As I'm 42 now, I can say it's different level altogether. It doesn't even compare. There is no comparison. So by making your deposits every day, your power deposit, the foundation of doing something good for your body, Get into move, get the blood flowing. Not for the fear sake of looking good, but understanding that feeling good through and through is a way we should all feel on a daily basis. And it's a unique thing that happens. I remember personally, and I'm seeing those patterns now with the gym, right? Even as recently as the COVID crisis. Everyone was up in arms about how the gyms were closed. And everyone said, hey, this was a year I was going to get in the best shape ever, but the gyms are closed. People went out and bought equipment. There's a shortage of equipment out there. People, wanting to stick to that game plan. But yet allowing COVID to be its biggest challenge. The gyms are empty. You want to be in a public place where you don't have to worry about social distancing because there's just not enough people? Go to the gym. Go to the gym. It's a ghost town. And yet, there's groups of people that I always see there. Teens and early 20s. Teens and early 20s. And their whole intent is just to look good, right? Physically. They don't really care about the long-term effects of it. They want to make sure they can attract the opposite sex. So they're in there working hard, and there's a ton of them. And the other group you always see there is people in their 50s or 60s and above. Their mindset's a little different. It's all about the health benefits. Because what they did in the 30s and 40s finally caught up to them. Their doctors had to have a conversation with them. They had to look at the hard facts and say, if I don't take care of myself, I won't be around much longer. But that group that's missing in the 30s and 40s, it's unfortunate. They're too caught up in the game of life, revolved around just being at home, right? Or being too stuck with the business, not prioritizing their health. And it's unfortunate. And maybe you fall into that group like I do. We're not supposed to subside and think that that's something that's beyond us or behind us. It's part of the game. So your power deposit, purpose. Staying focused means staying grounded. Knowing that you've overcome great things. That's what's going to keep that momentum going. Your self-development. Understanding your dysfunctional patterns is key to continuing on this momentum. It's key to poise yourself to win. To cause yourself to win. That's been the significant game changer for me. Realizing that my perspective may be off. Maybe there's something greater for me. Self-development and the purpose deposit is key to that. And finally, as a business owner, making your profits deposit. Understanding that the ills of your business lay at the core of your foundation of marketing. Weak marketing, sporadic marketing, you're going to continue to have struggles within your business. But these are things we can all do. And I'm going to invite you to go ahead and continue to take that path of something as simple as the 12-week targets. You'll be surprised what it can do for you in 5 years. But commit to yourself. You will be in a better position next year than you were today. The following year. And in 5 years, a different level altogether. Let's start to shift. And if you've been drifting all these years, thinking that your best days are behind you, I'm here to tell you that they're not. And can only get better. I promise. So I want to thank you. I want to thank you for joining me for this episode of Mindset Mastery. I just had a lot of gratitude. I hope you're taking this message the way I intended for you to receive it. At the core of this is that you are responsible for all things. You can shift the trajectory of your life. But it comes with a lot of pain and a lot of work. But this pain is different. The pain of growth versus the pain of complacency. Radically different. Nick, age is just a number. It's about having the correct mindset. The body achieves what the mind believes. Love that. Lonnie, 100%. I bit the bullet and got a trainer last month. I've never had more clarity in my day. When I wake up at 4 to work out, I feel like my brain is gone and my days start better. It's amazing what that does. We're creatures of movement, right? We're supposed to go out there and conquer and just continue to push. But in this world of, on demand, it's hard. We don't have to hunt for food, right? We don't have to, everything's at our fingertips. It's so easy to be complacent and in a mediocre spot. And that's what's happening to the vast majority of society. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. What are you going to do about it? Sergio, absolutely. I once heard your last 5 years is a good look into what your next 5 years will be. Is it growth or decay? There's no such thing as stability. That's so true. And again, if you're still having the same struggles as you were 5 years ago, I'm gonna challenge you that you're not growing fast enough. You're not challenging yourself fast enough. You're stuck. You've decided to live in this bubble that's all you can create. You can't have the same problems you had 5 years ago. You just can't. You're the problem. You're the problem. Understand that. It's not your husband. It's not your wife. It's not your kids. It's not your mom. It's not your environment. You're the problem. And it's okay. Because since you're the problem, you can fix it. But it's just a pattern you've decided to live in. And if you've gained 10, 15, 20 pounds over the last 5 years, where do you think you're going to be in another 5 years? You're not going to be happier unless you start making the change right now. I remember calling you one day, pouring it out, being transparent about how I felt, and a simple question challenged me at the moment you asked, do you think getting better and growing is going to be easy, Sergio? No, it will take work and it will break you all the way down until your new power kicks in to keep pushing you forward. I remember that conversation. And it's hard to it's easy to complain, right? It's so hard. It's never going to change. And I've done all the right things for the last 2 weeks or the last 3 months. Why hasn't my life radically changed? Well, if we start comparing to all the things we have been doing that have not been the right things for our lives, now we can put years on top of that, right? So to reverse that, it may take years. But we all want it right now because you can get your food right now and the movies you want to watch right now. So I get it. And that's the hard part of the process. I will never arrive. The work is continuous. I love that, Roger. Amen. Just to start. Keep spreading that energy, AZ. I appreciate you, Felipe. Roger, I'm here and I choose if I want to be a victim or not. I choose. Eckhart Tolle said it best. When you complain, you become a victim. When you complain, you become a victim. No more complaining, more doing. It's a great day. It's a great place to be in. Life is good. Life is good, and we got to remind yourself of that. So again, I want to thank you for joining me for this episode of Mindset Mastery. I want to thank you all that participated and put your thoughts out there, for sharing and for allowing others to see where you're at and how open you are with your lives. And Roger, Felipe, Sergio, Lonnie, thank you for your contributions, and everyone who's joined me today. I do thank you for participating. And that's all we have for this episode of Mindset Mastery, and I will talk to you soon.